And hello, and welcome to the 11th episode of the Anime Symposium. I'm your host, Andrew, and with me I have Dawson.
What's up, guys?
And
not Connor.
Connor's not here. Hey, who's this third person that's with us today?
Well, I'd be Jay, I suppose, if...
Yes, hello, Jay.
Curious.
So today, Connor is not here because he's off, going to rewatch Lance N Masques again.
Having a very Merry
fun
Christmas.
with that. Yeah, and having a Merry Christmas, watching Lance N Masques and Comet Lucifer back to back. So, I brought in one of my friends, Jay. Say hello again.
Howdy, hi-ho.
Also a good person who's also watches anime like the rest of us. And we brought him on for a very special Christmas episode where we discuss an anime called White Album 2.
Let me just say, this was definitely a very good choice for a Christmas one. Having watched this, I feel as this and Corridor are the two most Christmas-centric things I've watched.
Dude, it's snowing at the end, right?
Yeah, you get all that happy
But Dawson, you know the format. Jay, I also outlined the format to you earlier, so...
Oh, yeah.
Before we start, how are you guys been doing? How you been doing, Dawson?
Mostly playing... Honestly, I've just, read a little bit of manga recently. Mm-hmm. We were playing a bunch of Terraria. A shit ton of Terraria, which was fun.
Yeah. I've been sitting on Nozaki Anna for a while now.
Oh, I'm gonna bring that up at some point tonight, because there's something from that I want to apply to this.
Jay,
which
we'll
will be
tell you about
interesting.
Nozaki Anna in a bit.
Yeah, it's an interesting anime, but I also saw the new Star Wars recently, which inspired me to replay Knights of the Old Republic. So
good game.
I've been doing that recently. Yeah, it's a great game.
Still need to watch that movie. Have you seen it yet, Jay?
I have not. I was going to see it probably in a week or two.
Oh, hey, do you want to go if you're in town?
Yeah, I'll be around.
Yeah, dude, I need to go see it. I was going to ask you if you wanted to go see it. Cool. Jay, how have you been doing? You've been awake for a while.
Yeah, I think I've been up for at least 48 hours at this point.
I've done that a couple times for these.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what drove me to stay up originally, but what I can tell you is I did play a lot of StarCraft in the past.
Yeah, you
48
detailed
hours.
me the whole entire story of StarCraft 2.
Yeah, I told you the half asleep version where I abbreviate all of the key plot points into about 3 words worth of conversation. But yeah, that was it.
It's efficient.
Legacy of the Void, great expansion.
So, a little context for the now 0 viewers. I like making that joke. I will post the last week's. I had to still post last week's, which I will do today.
It's not up yet.
It's not up. I've been
That's
meaning
fine.
to do it. It's fine. It's no one listens to this anyway. This is us having fun. But for a little context, Jay here, he was part of the inspiration of this whole thing.
God. Should I tell the story then?
Well, no. Well, no, not for White Album 2. Not for
Okay.
You've been the inspiration for the podcast in general.
Yeah.
If you don't remember, this idea kind of all started when me, you, and Dawson sat there and discussed all of Origaru for 2 hours.
Yeah, that was great.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
That was a long conversation that kept adding people to it. It was pretty
No,
good.
that was the FLCL.
Oh, was the FLCL the one that we added a ton of people to?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I am still waiting on my 3rd season of Snafu.
I know.
Yeah,
Someday.
we all are. But
do we even have
no,
enough?
dude, our 3rd season's right here. It's called White Album.
God
No.
Do we even have enough light novel content to make a season for them to make a season 3 of that? 'Cause
They're
I
writing
feel
them. They're writing them right now.
Just wait.
Yeah, I know.
Eventually.
It's like One Punch Man. They're writing it right now.
It's so painful because we left off at such a
Yeah.
delicate
Dude,
place.
what if White Album
Really
2 ended
was.
at episode 10?
You know,
Okay, I
White
wanted
Album-
it to end at episode 10.
Okay.
Yeah, the last 2 episodes.
Wait, we'll get there. We'll get there, Dawson.
Okay.
I see where this conversation's going.
Oh, this is gonna be the best. So, as Jay was saying, Jay was also the inspiration for White Album too. Jay, would you like to recant this story?
So, whenever Dotto recommends anime to me, I always like watching the anime he says, Jay, don't watch this for any reason. And I'm not exactly sure why I've adopted this pattern, but it's really great because I see some real interesting
terrible
stuff.
things.
Yeah,
Terrible
stuff. But
okay, so are you
time-
gonna watch Lance N Masques?
I think I might avoid that one after what you told me today. I think I might skip that one.
Do you like
It's not a hard and fast rule.
But I was sitting one day and I was on my anime list, and I can be a sucker for the chick flick or the occasional romance anime, and I said, well, why don't I watch one? And I randomly looked up a bunch of them, and I discovered this random anime called White Album 2 as opposed to White Album 1.
Yeah.
And then I found out that the stories were completely separate, and the trailer looked kind of cool. I was like, well, okay, this looks like some cool stuff, some music, and it's going to be great. And then I said, well, hey, Dotto, there's this anime I'm going to watch. And I believe he was like, no, you have to watch Gurren Lagann first. And I said, okay, fine.
Okay, so continuing from where Jay's story goes off of, I was sitting in class one day, so he's like, oh, hey, go watch White Album 2, and I go, okay, I'll put it on the back of my head. And I'm sitting there, and I'm sitting in class, and I come up on a thread that goes, the anime that makes you feel the worst, that you just feel terrible for watching.
Yeah.
Not that you don't like it, but you just feel terrible after you watch it.
I remember that thread specifically. I was also reading it.
And the first thing that popped up was White Album 2, and I go, Jay just told me to watch this. The way that people are talking about White Album 2 is intriguing me enough. And I was in the middle of class, and I got up, I looked at the time, and I go, if I start this now, I'll be done in about 5 hours. I'll be done around 8 or 9. Okay. I got up, I walked back to my dorm, and I just sat down, and I watched all 14 episodes in one sitting.
Just straight through.
Just straight through. And there was a lot of screaming, there was a lot of me hitting a wall, there was a lot of me texting Jay, and then me calling Jay, and then me calling you guys on Skype, you and Connor on Skype,
Yeah.
and telling you to go leave so I could yell at Connor for like another hour.
Oh, yeah, because you still wanted me to watch it.
Yes,
And you knew
were
Connor
interested.
never would.
You were interested in it.
And as I remember, I got these texts when I was working a show, and I was like, oh, Dotto's watching White Album 2. Oh, Dotto's watching White Album 2.
Because then at this point, Jay has already watched another trailer that he goes, I might not watch White Album 2 anymore.
Yeah.
But it was too late. There was no turning back.
Had
There's no
gone
turning
far
back.
enough.
So I tell Jay, go watch White Album 2. I'll get Dawson to watch it and we could discuss this because I need to talk about it with somebody.
This was back in the summer.
This is back in the summer. Right. So you watch it, and then at the time you were working your summer job. So you were really tired and you were just like, I can't watch this right now.
Yeah.
I need to go watch schlock like Air Gear.
Yeah, I wanted to watch shit like Air Gear because I just needed
Which,
something.
just a little sidetrack. Did you know a new chapter of Air Gear got released like recently?
Wait.
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah, an epilogue chapter.
Okay.
I'm gonna read that when it gets translated.
It's like when they,
'Cause I'm just gonna read
released
that.
the epilogue chapter for Rosario Vampire, and we were all still just as depressed.
It's just as sad afterwards.
But here's the thing, Jay. Air Gear ended like 5 years ago.
Okay, fair enough.
Anyway, so Jay goes and he watches it. And then you tell me I watched it because you told me Dawson was gonna watch it.
So, I guess we have to give it's contrary, or it's normal for us to give an unbiased, no spoilers
Yes.
review of it, right?
So, again,
It's our-
that's our MO. Yes.
Sort of.
Okay.
So right now we're gonna start off with the first section of White Album 2,
Non-spoilers.
the non-spoiler section, White Album 2 is a story of a boy who's part of a music club, and the music club, all the members leave. So
not all the members.
All of them.
His best friend sticks around.
Yeah, his best friend sticks around, and he's like, "Well,
time, but he sticks around."
Yeah. He's like, "I want to go, play for, the school festival, but there's no members here." So he's just playing his favorite song on the guitar that he knows how to play. And then suddenly, like, this pianist who's in the music room next door starts playing the piano along with the song.
This has been happening for quite some time at the point you're introduced to the characters in the story.
Yes. And then he starts hearing singing above him. And so his first thought process was, I got a band.
Yeah.
And he meets two characters, both female, the two main heroines of this story. And and he forms a band. They hit it off, and they perform at the school. 7 episodes of Trials and Tribulations for them to play at the school festival, and then school festival happens, and then the rest of White Album 2 happens.
Yeah, keyword. Remember, 7 episodes is the magic number, folks.
Out of 14.
7.
13.
Stop
13.
at 7.
13 out of 13. 13. This anime is 13 episodes long, so there's only 6 episodes of where it goes from there.
All right,
So,
I have to keep being unbiased, right? No, don't,
Yes.
Yeah, don't stop at 7. Watch the whole thing.
Yeah, watch the whole thing.
Watch the whole thing.
Hey, no. Hold that, yeah. Hold that, Jay. Hold that thought.
This is
So, in a most non-spoilery way possible, what do you guys think about this show?
So, I'll start this off, I guess.
Yes, okay. So here's the thing. Me and Jay have been anxiously waiting for this day.
To see what I think about it.
Yes.
It's been like 6 months.
Because I already told Connor all of this. I literally recanted the whole story to Connor.
Yeah.
And he came off of it going, wow. I won't say the rest, but wow.
So, I generally enjoyed White Album 2.
Okay.
Generally. Specifically, the earlier episodes I liked better, especially watching them. I was like, okay, it's been a while since I've watched a show like this, and it feels really nice to be watching a show like this again.
Yes. Well, again, I remember saying this to you and Jay Bove.
Yeah.
Is it just me, or is snafu happening right down the hall, down the staircase?
For me, it feels like Clanad should be happening at the same school.
Clanad. Oh my god.
Watching this for some... I think it's the whole
Jay,
VN nature of it, because this show, the entire way through, you can tell that it was a VN originally. And
because you see the multiple routes.
Yeah, and Clanad felt...
is a VN, yeah.
Similarly. Both of which
Jay,
are
what's your
VNs.
thought? You've seen Clanad. I've not seen it.
I've seen season 1 of Clanad, and I saw a spoiler from season 2, and I've refused to touch it.
I got a couple episodes into season 2. I was like, I'm gonna stop.
Do you agree with Dawson that this is happening? Clanad's also happening 2 doors down from here.
Yeah, I think the first season of Clanad was great. I'm terrified to watch the second season.
But, I know, but in relation to White Album 2, does it feel does it feel like this story's taking place?
Absolutely, it's 2 doors down.
Yeah.
Okay, Dawson, continue.
They're just all kind of next to each other. But yeah,
8-Man's downstairs having his little shenanigans.
Yeah, dude, 8-Man's trying to be genuine.
I like 8-Man from Snafu.
8-Man's great.
I like 8-Man.
Oh, this is the most tangent he's ever.
Yeah, well, it's because we all know that he's an amazing character.
Yes.
But speaking of characters, out of our 3 main cast, I think that was the weakest point of the show for me personally, alongside sound direction, is that I didn't like the characters as much as I felt like I needed to for this show to be good. I enjoyed them, and I enjoyed watching a decent amount of the show, but the characters just could have been better written, and they weren't. That's how I feel.
Before we continue, just guys, can you check your recordings? Is everything running?
Yep.
Oh yeah, we're good.
Okay, just making 100% sure. Okay, continue. Jay, now your standpoint.
I agree. I think the characters probably were the weakest aspect of this. this is
so realistic.
the,
About that, I have.
yeah,
words.
about that. This sort of show, and I see this a lot in plays too. It's supposed to be driven by the character's internal motivation and action, and then their response to another character's motivation. So objective and tactics.
Yeah.
I did not feel that the main character had a very strong super objective throughout the whole thing. He bounced back and forth, and it never really seemed like he was driving towards any one thing at any given point. And he... It was hard, because I really liked the first 7 episodes. Because I didn't really know what I was getting into when I was watching the show, and I watched the first 7, and I was like...
And then you get to the 7th episode, and then immediately
Dotto
you
sent
feel...
me this text. He's like, dude, oh my god. And I'm watching the first 7. I'm like, what's Dotto talking about? This is great. and
then you get to that moment where you just feel internal dread.
Yeah, and then I saw
don't know.
it going downhill real quick.
For me, it wasn't 7. It was 10. Or
Oh.
11. It was 11.
Oh, was
I
that,
was-
was that the one where they switched perspective?
I liked the whole backstory segment
Okay.
in those couple episodes.
I also appreciate the backstory segments.
But once
too.
they got out of the backstory segmentation, that when I was like, oh yeah, this is going on, huh?
I like the backstory segment too. I will touch on it more because
Yeah.
I appreciate it because it kind of flips the story on its head.
Yeah.
And the only reason why I say like the first 7 is because once I hit that 7th and they say that line, I felt the internal dread.
Just
and
start
the
building.
problem was, I was coming off of I was reading the Reddit thread,
Yeah.
right? And because I read the Reddit thread, I said something bad is going to happen any minute now.
Yeah.
And for 6 episodes, I sat there and said something bad is going to happen.
Okay,
So-
it was pretty evident from the beginning, regardless
No,
of what you
I
read
know.
beforehand.
It's a
like,
love triangle.
Also,
So,
the main character
Jay-
says it the first episode,
Yeah.
so he was like, "We were all great and dandy at this point," and then
Yeah.
obviously
So Jay-
we're implying that
Jay
something
was
happened.
getting a lot of text of me going, "Oh man, this is like fucked. Like
Yeah.
this is no good."
And episode 10 was rough, as I can remember
So-
it.
The thing is,
Yeah.
That was...
from my perspective, I know where Jay stands on this. I don't know where Dawson stands on it, but I will continuously say I am super on the fence about this show. This is one of the most polarizing shows I could ever see, because there are a lot of aspects that I understand why people appreciate it, why people like it.
Yeah.
And I also understand this is something I would like. But then down to my core, it says no. Even though your mind says you should like this, inside you go, no, you shouldn't like this.
Your mind's
I
telling you
think
no.
it's hilarious because when I watched this, my initial response, because I didn't look at Reddit reviews or anything like that before I came on to it. Are we allowed to go into spoilers now?
No, not yet. Not yet.
Okay.
Give it another 3 more minutes,
Okay.
and then we'll switch over.
But when I watched this show, I did not expect what happened. And I thought there would have been a more universal hatred for the way certain things were done within the context of the show. But in actuality, people loved it. And that's what scared me the most.
The implications of that.
Yeah, the implications of what happens in the show and how people rallied to it. I was like, oh my god, no. Wait.
I love how we tiptoe around this, because this is just like our Nagi no Asakura, where we are tiptoeing around everything.
Yeah.
So, let's start getting into it, but first and foremost, I will not do the rating system. I'll do the rating system during the discussion section. Recommendation, yes or no? For me, I would say I would recommend this for people who like this genre. And even though that it's a very polarizing show myself, and I know where Jay stands on this, I say people need to experience this show.
I would only recommend this to somebody who has watched shows generally like this before. Someone who's watched
Nagi no Asakura.
romancy, tragedy shows before
So-
high school-y sorts of shows, and they've watched a decent amount of them, and they haven't watched this yet, yeah, you should watch it. But otherwise, there's a lot of other shows I would recommend to you before watching this show. And maybe if you don't like those, definitely don't get to this show.
So, Jay, what do you think?
If you enjoy romance as a genre, and you happen to like it like I do, there are other alternatives that I would encourage you to consider.
Better alternatives.
First, there are better alternatives out there. Obviously, we've talked so much about this. If you're like me, the curiosity is going to get the better of you. Don't say we didn't warn you. But there are better alternatives in terms of watching a show with more fluid, well-developed characters and a more thought-out plot line. There are other shows that you could watch that are a little bit more put together than this one.
Okay.
If you're interested in this show and you haven't watched it, just watch. If you want something more on the sad line, go watch Your Lie in April instead. And if you want something happier, go watch K-On! Instead.
Or Nagi no Asakura.
And I guess you could go watch Nagi no Asakura if you want some...
Chances are...
but you should watch... If this is what you're looking at,
Clanad?
you should just watch Your Lie in April.
Oh.
And maybe K-On! If you want something super happy.
Yeah.
That's my recommendations over this. And if you've watched both of those...
Well, we should actually point this out, too. This is technically the first third of a story that probably will never be animated.
Yeah.
So,
thank God.
I mean, there are some arguments, me and Jay, we've read it, so... but there are some arguments who say that the ending, you need to go and read the document somebody wrote up about, like, the rest of the story.
Yeah.
But from my standpoint of just this anime alone, I'd say I'd recommend it for the people who are into this genre, but I won't heavily recommend it. But it's something that I feel needs to be experienced masochistically or sadistically. Either or.
Yeah, I think that's the two ways to enjoy this show.
Yeah.
And if you do happen to watch this show, heed my warning now. Take about 3 days before you decide to read the after story that comes afterward, because you may get a lot of feelings towards that after story if you don't wait. Ugh.
I haven't read that yet.
You read it right after.
I read it
Jay?
like the second I finished.
Okay, because I did that too.
And that was just
Okay, wait.
I will do this.
So now, okay.
I will do that after this
So now we will
discussion.
enter the spoiler section of this segment.
Yeah.
And we're going to open up the floodgates.
Oh, Jesus.
But before we get to these discussion questions that Jay has presented to us, I like to start off where we always start the discussion section.
At the end?
At the very end. Almost like clockwork, we always start at the end. And so, Dawson, you haven't read it yet.
I have not. I have not read.
But me
what
and
comes
Jay,
after.
so from the ending, Jay felt it too, and I don't know if you felt it. I felt empty coming off of that ending.
Okay.
We're jumping to
I
the end
didn't,
here.
because there's a lot of shows I will feel empty after, even like happy shows. But for me to feel empty after a show, I always have to be really invested in the characters. And in this show, I just wasn't. So it ended, and I'm like, okay, this is done, and
I have a serious problem with empathy.
Yeah.
Where I will empathize with things even though I shouldn't. So I felt empty.
Yeah.
So coming off of this, I immediately had to go, is there more?
Yeah.
And there was more.
Just not what I wanted.
Not what you were hoping for.
No.
So for my story of this after story, I went to go talk to you guys about it. And then after you left Dawson to go to bed, I found the after story and started reading it.
Yeah.
And live on a call with Connor,
Was
on a
just
Skype
like,
call,
what the hell?
I was recanting my angerness and constantly repeating, wow, this is getting more and more fucked.
Yeah. Bit by bit.
Yeah.
I don't think that they had this all lined up when they started this story.
Yeah.
I think they set up a couple of key points and said, okay, here's the catalyst, and we need to have the characters reach this catalyst and then see where they go.
Because you have to remember, this is what we watch is technically the prologue.
Yeah. Well, also, it doesn't, instead of making the show feeling like you're following the main character's indecision, you feel like you're following the author's indecision.
Yeah.
Which is kind of an awkward line to walk.
Let's get fully into this.
Yeah.
The ending, where it just goes, call, hey, I love you, go do the scene in the room, and then, like, go to the airport.
So, if we want to talk last episode, a general, 2-minute gist of what happens.
But at this point, most people, if they've gotten this far to the 0 listeners, they already know what happened. But we could recant that.
Right. So, I mean,
just
you've got your main guy and you've got your two lady friends.
One that he starts dating.
He's currently dating one of them. Setsuna.
The popular girl who looks exactly like Asuka from
who basically does everything for him and really cares about him. And then he's been having these weird feelings about the other girl. And her name was
Toma, which is real.
Toma.
Let me just put this out there right now. This show has a lot of points. There are a lot of points in this show that remind me of other shows in ways that I wish it didn't. And one of those happens to be that I really like the Raildex series, and the main character's name is Toma.
This is forever ruined.
And he's a guy, and they're completely different characters. It's just really weird to hear it in that context. Continue.
So the main character, he essentially has had a thing for the other girl for a while. They're all best friends, and then all of a sudden we get to the point where he gets a phone call, he meets her outside, they somehow wind up back at their room, next thing you know, clothes are off, and you're like, whoa, okay.
No, you forgot the important detail. His girlfriend calls in the middle of this, and he's about to stop, but she knocks the phone off the bed.
This happens. Also, let me just say, I don't know where or how you guys watch this, but I was highly disappointed that there was most of my screen was black during those.
Yeah, no, that's all versions of this.
It was pretty anticlimactic.
So they get it on.
No, I actually think I found a less censored version of that. It's nothing much.
Yeah, I wouldn't imagine it to be. It was just like, why am I even watching it? It's so long for scenes of just black.
They get it on.
No, dude, you have to hear the romantic violin music.
Well, they get it on, and then she leaves, mind you, stumbling out of the room.
Yeah, it's like, okay, where did he put that?
Yeah, Crunchyroll absolutely loved the idea that she was stumbling out, and I was a little concerned by that.
Yeah.
I was like, you guys are a little creepy. So then it got to the point where his girlfriend comes over, and then all of a sudden it's this moment where the main character's like, oh yeah, I kind of screwed your best friend.
I kind of just cheated on you.
Yeah. And he's like, it's been a while, I haven't told you any of this, so I should probably tell you. And she's like, the only way I'm going to listen to you is if you come to on the train with me to the airport.
So, because
she's about to leave to go to Europe, not that girl, but the girl he just banged.
Toma's leaving.
Yes.
Yeah, Toma's leaving to go to Europe, and then
Vienna specifically.
Vienna, right? To play with her mom, and then they're on their way to the airport. And then there's the most heartbreaking conversation in the train where she starts blaming herself for.
I have words on that because I read write-ups about this, and I actually it's kind of turned me around on some of the aspects of this, but continue.
Okay, I have something to say about that too, so we'll get back to that soon.
we'll just lay out the plot and then we'll come back to it. So they're on the train. She says she starts to blame herself for what happened. They reach the airport, and then the big climax of the episode is our main character decides he doesn't want to stay and he wants to leave before he sees Toma, but then he sees Toma, and in typical anime fashion,
you get the
one of the
most infamous shots that's shared around the internet.
Yeah, they're
of them starting to make out, of like him and Toma making out
in the airport.
In the background, you see the girlfriend just breaking down crying.
Yeah, they're making out in the airport, in the center of everything. Toma is making out with MC, and then
are the girlfriend's breaking down crying.
The girlfriend
in the
is breaking down and crying,
and then she gets on the plane and leaves, and then they stand there in the snow, and then it ends.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
And then he goes, you can leave now, and she's like, I don't want to leave.
My heart'll be frozen if I do. Okay, so the scene where they're making out, and she is crying in the background. The lead up to that scene felt like a really bad doujinshi to me. Like when you accidentally find one of the
That's some NTR stuff, man.
Yeah, exactly. When you accidentally figure out you're reading an NTR one, and she's like, "I'm sorry, it just feels so good," and then the guy's like right there. It was bad. I was just like, oh god, I shouldn't be thinking about that when I'm watching this scene, but I feel like the lines there specifically, like, I feel like it just got steadily worse and worse in terms of writing as the show progressed, climaxing on.
I mean, the first 7 was great.
Yeah.
I liked actually when we included the ensemble cast in the first 7.
Yeah, I know, that was nice.
And then they all dropped off the face of the earth completely.
Yeah.
For the romance. So, you said you liked the first 10. What Dawson... Go on that.
Because of... I liked the whole backstory section on Toma. It was like...
Because it flips everything on its head.
Yeah, like
go,
that...
Okay.
You get that scene in 7 that makes you go like, oh, this probably isn't going to turn out well. I mean, you probably knew that from the beginning. Because most people have heard something about the show before they watch it, and the main character also implies in the first episode that things are not going to turn out dandy. But you know that's bad, but then they take you away from that for a while, and they're like, okay, let's just show you a bunch of backstory for a while. And I really like that. It was a whole 2 or 3 episodes of just pure filling in the gaps of what they hadn't shown.
You hated this.
I thought it was an interest.
I just wanted to get to the meat and the bones of the issue.
Yeah.
I kept dodging the whole season.
Yeah, I thought it was an interesting...
You were like, dude, this is Naruto. Like, this is doing a Naruto.
It was, though.
You're sitting there, I was
like, huh. You know, I feel like we're having some filler here. In the middle of
even though it wasn't filler, it was important.
Well, it was filler in a different sense. Instead of being filler to fill time, it was filling in what they hadn't showed previously.
Yeah.
But
so, and back to my original point.
Yeah.
Apparently, when you look on Crunchyroll and other top anime websites,
Reddit, stuff like that,
this is like a flagship anime for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Which scares me. Because if you that brings up my thought. If you like
NTR,
what is the theme here? What are they trying to drive home?
I think they're just trying to create a really dirty, messy series of relationships.
If Nagi no Asakura is the perfect anime ending, this is the messy anime ending.
I just want to know what theme they were trying to drive home, because I have what I took away from it.
NTR, dude.
I just felt like it was... They were trying to say that relationships are really messy. I don't know.
It's really a realistic story.
Oh,
guys.
God.
You gotta remember, this is one of the most realistic anime stories out
So
there.
I decided to see what other people said about this, because I was always worried I was in my own boat on the not loving this.
And then you found out you were.
And then I definitely found out I was in my own boat for not liking this.
No, there's
I
a
think
few
there's
of
a
us.
decent amount of people that don't. They're just less vocal than those who do like it. Which is strange, because that's usually not how these things work.
What I found was that the word realistic popped up in 4 out of 5 of the review videos I watched for this show. So, do you guys think that this is a realistic scenario?
I don't know, because in my situation, if I was ever in that situation, I would just be going on that plane too, so...
Yeah, see... That's one of... I think it's not. I mean, partially, it was up to a certain point.
There is a moment where it becomes wildly unrealistic.
Yeah.
And...
Like, back to that last scene, I don't think they would have ever kissed in front of her. Like, regardless of... Unless you're doing that to specifically make a point.
Yeah, to spite her.
Yeah, exactly. Unless one of the two is doing that to spite her, there is no reason they would ever kiss in front of her.
So there's a lot of word, like next to realistic, a lot of people throw the word guilt around in this, and how how realistic it was is because everyone felt guilty.
I think feeling guilt is definitely realistic. And I think some of the ways that guilt manifested were realistic, but other times...
They didn't... The way their actions went about...
They were not, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, the feeling itself is realistic, it just doesn't manifest itself in realistic ways.
The MC was quoted in some of the reviews I was watching for being very forward with his thoughts and his feelings. And I said, well, he talks a big game, but he never really... Even in the end, he never really gets down to the meat of the issue. He just kind of avoids it and does whatever he wants to do. Yeah. In the end, he had choices that he made that caused all of this to end this way. One of the reviewers I watched specifically blamed, not Toma, but... Setsuna. One of the reviewers I watched specifically blamed Setsuna for the whole thing.
I mostly agree with that, because after reading a lot of write-ups, she is terrible. Not like a terrible... Okay, she's not the best characters, but she is terrible.
As in, like, a terrible person?
Her actions... Yeah, she's a terrible person.
Yeah, I mean...
She's super manipulative. She's a terrible person, and she's super self-centered.
Yeah, I don't know. I can see why one would consider her that, but I think the real... I don't know. I think our main problem... This reminds me a lot of School Days.
No, okay.
A lot.
That's where I wanted to pull out. When I watched this, I went, why does this make me feel like I'm watching a School Days version of Origaru?
It feels a lot like School... Like, if School Days didn't...
The animation style looks like School Days!
It's very similar, but also, if School Days didn't branch out to other girls, like... If School Days just stuck with the original 2 girls like it did for the first who knows how many episodes, I never finished it, but it felt extremely similar to that. Like, you have the main character who is really just mostly ignoring what's going on around him, and the people around him are just screwing with each other and screwing themselves over, which, in a sense, is... decently realistic. Like, how much certain characters screw themselves over in this, I'd say is definitely one of its stronger points. If
Setsuna just didn't decide to step in, this story would have been a lot happier.
Yeah.
Well, because the reason why I keep saying that she's a terrible manipulative person is that she saw the outcome ahead of, like, she said, okay, I know that these two like each other.
Yeah.
But I know if I don't step in, I'm gonna get left behind.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get left behind. I want to be like on the train online. I want to eat my cake and eat. I want to have my cake and eat it too. Eat it too. Yeah.
Well, that's that's like Snafu though. What's her name in Snafu?
Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing.
But that character's done a lot better.
Right from the start, it's very rare that I will ever like a character who is I want us to stay this way forever sort of character. Yeah. Like, I'm really happy right now, let's not change this. The exception of that is Chisaki in Nagino, but that's only second half Chisaki, which doesn't really count. But just that sort of character in general, I get tired of really quickly. Like, I find that motivation pretty boring.
I going back to the White Album 2, though, not White Album 2. Snafu is, I like that character better in Snafu than here.
I mean, I like Yui better than Setsuna for sure, but I think that's
a better show.
Yeah, it's just generally better written overall.
No, but the thing is, I like because the thing is, like, at least she is acknowledging it. They all acknowledge it. And the thing is, like, here, she's like, no, I'm gonna step in because I just don't want to be left behind. And unlike Yui, who is more motivated in her feelings, she is motivated in her selfish feelings of not wanting to be left behind.
I mean...
And then as you go through the series and you continue, the thing is, she is constantly not, like... One of the write-ups that I agree with is that somebody was saying that she is constantly saying it's her fault, that she's throwing guilt on herself. And that allows the two other characters to feel equally as guilty. Because if she was to be angry like they wanted to, they would have felt better about themselves.
Yes. This brings me to something I wanted to talk about. A manga I have told you about before, Onai Master something or other. It's basically, the story revolves around a decently cringy MC who's basically, in my opinion, it's if you took someone like Light or Lelouch and instead of giving them power, you showed them for what is in my opinion, a more realistic scenario for them. So instead of...
did you know that... Hey Jay, did you know that Code Geass is Dawson's trigger word now?
I really don't like Code Geass. I really don't like
Code
Geass.
We talk about that show sometime.
I don't like talking about Geass, except if I need to use an example of how something's done wrong.
I wanted to stop after episode 14, but Dotto made me finish.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. You started watching Geass, and you didn't tell me about it until you finished it.
Oh, yeah.
Don't blame me.
But,
Don't go throwing guilt on me like Setsuna does.
Yeah, but the voice in my head that was...
It's Bowen. It was Bowen.
No, the voice in my head was you, Dotto. It was like, Jay, you have to finish. You started.
Anyway,
back on
White Album 2.
Let me just finish this for Onai Master real quick.
Onai Master.
Basically, the main characters, you take either Lelouch or Light, and instead of setting out to change the world, they're jacking off in the girls' bathroom. And you take that character, and he ends up doing some pretty damn bad shit, cringy shit, that you just go, ooh, dude, that's messed up. And as I find our main character did in White Album 2, and as Makoto does in School Days, it's just making bad decisions. But the thing is, I think that handles guilt really well, because he feels a lot of guilt, and when he eventually fesses up to it, a huge amount of the other characters are just brutal towards him. And it was weirdly, extremely satisfying to, like, vicariously feel because he feels that intense guilt, and you can feel it being, like, and see as he sort of, it's not like cleansed, but how much better it makes him feel just to have people be visceral towards him for a while afterwards.
And he wants
about
that.
it. Like, it feels terrible, but it's also sort of redeeming in its own way.
Dude,
and I feel like that's something you need.
Dude, if he got chewed out by Setsuna, he'd be getting on that plane with Toma.
I feel like if he was getting chewed out by Setsuna, he'd have ended up with Setsuna, but that is difference of opinion.
You know, I think it's important to note that the writing choices here, I don't think are necessarily, and I don't think they're the fault of the author so much as when they tried to create this show, they tried to turn a visual novel into.
No, but
Yeah.
this is the path that's needed to take to get to the after story.
Oh God, do we
also-
have to talk about the after story?
One reason I usually like visual novel and light novel
Because you
adapt.
could get your happy endings.
So that's part of it, but also the main reason I really like visual novels is because you spend so much time inside the main character's head. And if you have a good main character who you spend a lot of time in their head, I find that really enjoyable. Like, main character from Hyoka, he's like one of my favorite characters, but I'm blanking on his name right now, which is really weird. Ape Man from Origaru, Kyon from Disappearance. I think those are all great main characters that you spend a lot of time inside their head, listening to their thoughts as they're having conversations.
So you would have liked it better if our main character just...
He started off like that.
Monologue.
He started
Constant
off
monologue.
constantly thinking through everything in his head, and you saw his thought process. And I feel like they slowly stopped doing that as the show progressed.
So would you think that's the fault of the writing or the directing?
Depends. I haven't played the visual novel, so I wouldn't know. Because if the visual novel kept up having a lot of
Inner monologue?
Yeah, a lot of inner monologuing, I would fault the director at not portraying a lot of that inner monologuing. But if he stopped writing inner monologuing, you can't direct what you don't have. So, I don't know where the root of that problem is.
Oh boy.
Getting all the phone vibrations.
That was Jay. This one's before that was me.
Yeah, I know, but continue.
But, what was my point? Did I make my point? I think so. Basically, I think I would have enjoyed the show more, and I think our main character would have been a lot more interesting if they'd spent more time going over what was in his head, specifically.
Do you guys find the main character redeeming, or do you find him much more
Oh man,
shallow?
have you been subtly adding in these discussion questions, Jay?
Yeah.
Just bit by bit. I personally just didn't like the main character. Like, he never... I like when you have a main character that does bad things. Like, he obviously has faults. Like, this character obviously has faults, which is nice. I like a character with faults and who does stuff that's
he
obviously
settled, and then he decided to cheat on
messed up. Exactly. Like, that's kind of screwed up, and he shouldn't have done that. But he never does anything to redeem himself. I don't know if that gets solved in the bits I haven't read.
No.
But
No,
that's my problem.
Because here's the thing. In the bits that you read, there's a lot of paths.
Yeah.
Because in the prologue, there's only 2 girls, and then as you go forward, there's more girls.
There's even more girls?
But
Yeah.
I can't imagine that.
But here's the thing. There's a straight line to get to the true ending.
Yeah.
Because there are other girls, and then you could end their stories, and then you get an ending that's ending prematurely.
Yeah.
Isn't the
that would
true
be-
ending he winds up sleeping with one and then marrying the other one again?
No.
Or is that one of the alternate ones?
That's the Setsuno ending. Or no, that's the Toma ending, but not the Toma true ending.
Oh.
There's the thing is though, Dawson, is that the way that it works is that you have the prologue, right?
Yeah.
And then you have the middle section. I don't remember what the middle section's called. After story?
No, after story is clan ads.
Clanad.
Clanad, there's Clanad and Clanad after story. I don't know what
Jay,
they call
can
it in
you
this.
think of what the middle one was?
We can just call it the midsection. I don't know.
Concluding chapter and coda. So the concluding
coda,
chapter is the
happened.
middle section. The concluding chapter is or is it coda the middle section?
I'm assuming
I don't
coda
remember.
would be the middle section.
Okay. There's a middle section that deals with other girls, but then to get the straight line,
Yeah.
you have to end up with Setsuna.
Yeah.
And that straight line will, if you end up with Setsuna and that, you end in coda. Well, I mean, concluding story.
Okay.
And then in concluding story, Toma comes back into the picture, and then there's 2 endings from
Well,
there.
coda could be the end, actually.
Okay.
Whatever.
I don't know. You're gonna have to read this, Dawson,
Yeah.
because I'm just gonna be briefly explaining.
Naturally.
But basically, it goes with the four endings of like Setsuna ending, Toma ending, true Toma ending, true Setsuna ending. I don't remember if that's the case.
Yeah.
And it goes no specifically.
You're gonna have to give me one sec here.
Okay.
Add one old.
Okay, sorry about that.
Okay. Anyway, so continuing.
Yeah, I have to help out a
There
lot when I'm back for break.
Sorry.
Oh yeah,
about that.
in the closing chapter, there's like 5 girls he's choosing from.
Yeah.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Huh.
Dawson, continuing off where we left off, basically we, in the time that we just cut here, and you guys didn't hear it, but, it goes introductory chapter, concluding chapter, then coda.
Yeah.
In the concluding chapter, he could end up with the 5 girls, other girls, but then the straight line to get to the coda is you go through the Setsuna route.
Yeah.
And then it opens up to multiple endings, and a lot of those, the true endings, they're fine.
Yeah.
They're fine, but the other 2 endings, it's like, oh man, you're the worst person ever.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, so in my opinion, I don't know if he's a very redeemable character.
Yeah.
Because, like, knowing myself, there's a lot of actions I would do differently.
Yeah.
Which I would... Yeah. I would probably be doing a lot of that differently, which is why I don't see him being a realistic character.
Yeah.
But going to Jay, since you brought up this question, do you think he's a redeemable character?
I think, at least in like Western theater and in Western film, a character's dramatic struggle to find redemption is something that a lot of people can rally to.
But he doesn't.
But he doesn't.
He doesn't find redemption.
He doesn't find it, and he doesn't really seem to be
look
looking
for it.
either.
Yeah.
He just seems to be going with wherever he was kind of like... It's almost like, hi, I was written to go here and do this.
Me and Jay have read this, and I'll tell you a little bit about this. He goes off to college, like, he breaks off with Setsuna, goes off to college, and then just bees, like, an emo git for, like, a bit of that.
That's pretty nice. I actually like that.
A recluse guy until he meets other women.
And then he winds up getting back with Setsuna again anyway. And you're like, what?
Okay. Also something I want to talk about, partially because I've read Nozaki Onna recently, which I've told Andrew about, and he will hopefully at some point read.
I can't do it because I literally have to, like... I have to think about it, or I'm like, I can't read this, like... like, I can't read this, like, now. Like, I've been thinking... I keep going, like, I want to read it, but then it's like... It's just enough softcore porn where
tough.
I just can't.
I'm sorry,
hey,
what?
Jay,
Can we rewind about 3 clicks there?
So, this manga, Nozaki
it's an actual
Onna,
manga, not a hentai, Jay. It's not a hentai.
It's a softcore.
It's almost
It's the equivalent of a
softcore. There's a lot of sexual intercourse, etc. in it. And that is highly the point. But there's also a lot of decently interesting plot going on in the background.
It's a very character-driven story.
Yeah, it's very character-driven. And
Are we talking about, like, high school DxD level of...
This is completely different. No, this is
actual characters doing
let me just send you a link to...
Oh, no.
the Mal page, and you can explore from there. But...
I'm actually really interested in reading it, Jay. The only issue is that it's too much on the line of softcore, where I'm like, I can't just sit here and read this.
Yeah, it definitely feels like I had to be in a very specific mood to read that. Like, if I'd tried to read that, I don't know if I'd be in the right mindset to do it. But I was in a certain mindset, and I read that, and one of the characters makes a very interesting point at some point in the story.
I'm
trying to be very vague. But basically, it's like, okay, so you messed up and did something that would hurt your significant other, is it better to tell them that you did this? Or at some point, is it better if it was something that you did once and feel terrible about? Is it better to keep it to yourself and submit and basically turn yourself over to that guilt that you're going to feel continuously for quite a while, and basically they're happier for it, and you're not telling them this because you don't want them to be unhappy and you're taking it on yourself? Is it better to share that and have them feel worse, or is it better to keep that to yourself? It's hard to...
That's a philosophical debate. Depending on what philosophers you agree with, would have very different opinions about that.
Exactly, because I feel like most of the time when I'm watching or reading anime or manga, there's a heavy theme of eventually characters need to talk about something. And eventually they need to get there, yeah.
And you know what? This is a case where the characters do talk.
They do talk, yes.
But it's not in a way that I would appreciate.
Yeah. But basically I found it interesting. There was a couple points in this story where I was like, okay, MC, if you ended it with one of these two girls right now, and you just chose not to tell the other girl what happened, and just
there's an ending where he suggests that in the code.
Yeah, and just like he spends a huge amount of time racked by guilt, but continues onwards with that having come to a conclusion. Would I have liked that? Like, I don't know if I would have liked that. It was just something I was thinking about, having read that recently.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Since you're bringing that up, I want to bring my other point up about Nagi no Asakura, where for the 0 listeners who listen to that and who are listening to this, they know that I don't like that Nagi no Asakura ending.
Yes.
I adamantly yelled and ranted about that ending. And since you were suggesting for Jay to watch it, I will be very vague on the ending, because Dawson knows the ending.
Yeah.
But somebody in the Reddit threads said, here is a White Album 2 version of the Nagi no Asakura ending.
Yeah.
Where they basically rewrote the ending to have the White Album 2 ending instead of the ending that they had in Nagi no Asakura.
Okay.
And I like that ending
better?
a lot more than the ending of Nagi no Asakura.
I can infer why you would like it more, though.
Because one person loses. Because one person ends up losing, and it's the right person who ends up losing.
Yeah. See, that's just personal opinion of character.
But then, I thought about it a little further from there.
Yeah.
Okay? And I said, what if White Album 2 had Nagi no Asakura's ending?
Yeah.
And I said, I would have liked that a lot better than the ending we got.
So you would have liked both of those shows better if they just swapped their endings out?
Switched endings, yes! Because in one case, the person who should have won, and in the other case, at least Setsuna could not die in a dish, but, just admit that she was wrong, and, let the two be together.
Yeah, I'm inferring here, Andrew, that you heavily want MC to end up with Toma in White Album 2. Wanted
because
him to.
After I read all that stuff, I was like, she's a terrible person.
Toma's not that much better.
Yeah, I think they're all terrible.
She's
people.
a lot more deserving of it.
I mean, they're not terrible people. I don't know.
Toma
they're also pretty young.
Yeah, I think it's
that's the thing. Most of what Setsuna does, I can chalk up to mental immaturity.
She's like 16, 17 maybe.
That makes sense. And most of what Toma does, 18. I feel like I can also chalk up to emotional immaturity.
Because Toma plays a character, and she's not really that way, but she plays herself acting in the way that she does.
Exactly. And then, but the thing is, with the main character, some of the things he does I can chalk up to emotional immaturity. But some of the things he does, I feel like I definitely can't. I don't know.
Like that whole last section.
Yeah, exactly.
That
whole last segment specifically. That's why the last 2 episodes for me were the ones that shook me. Because up to that point, I decently enjoyed the show. I'd probably get...
You were loving it.
I wasn't loving it, but I was enjoying it. And then those last 2 episodes kind of just dropped off and fell pretty flat. And then also the fact that the very last scene was not the past the like kiss scene.
The one where they're standing in the plains.
Not even that. It was the fact that they ended with the song that they didn't play.
Oh, yeah.
As soon as they didn't play that song during the festival, I was like, okay, they're going to play that at the end. That's going to be the very last song they play in the show.
Because it has to do with the exact entirety of the story.
Exactly. So as soon as they did that, I was like, oh, I know this.
You would think that if Connor watched this, it would have been... Oh, man, I can only imagine. Anyway.
I can't even see either Connor's liking this show that much.
Oh, I know that for a fact. So, Jay, what's your next discussion question?
Yeah, this one's actually pretty funny. This is one that actually kind of pokes fun at a few little plot holes in the story. So that snow crash, the car crash in the snow.
Oh my god, Dawson! How much would you have loved it if somebody died in that crash?
That would have been just so strange. I wouldn't have known what to do with the show at that point.
So me and Jay talked about this, the snow crash.
I thought. Oh my god, they've crashed. Now they're stranded out in the wilderness in the middle of the night. It's like -3 degrees. We should be panicking. Instead, they all run outside in short-sleeve shirts and start playing and rolling in the snow.
Yeah.
And their car just wrecked into the snowbank.
Yeah. Also,
and
their car didn't look that wrecked either.
And like two seconds later, the snow pile is like off to the side and they're driving away. Like, we don't...
Oh, wait.
We see them...
Did we see them driving away? I swear to God.
No, Jay, you're wrong.
They just had a dry cut from them playing in the snow to them at the inn. We have no idea how they got out of that situation. All we know is the next day they have the car and they can drive back fine and it's no worse for wear.
No, here's the thing. I thought someone was going to die during that snow crash. I honestly went into that snow crash going, someone's gonna die. There are way too many death flags being raised right here. Someone's gonna die. It's most likely Setsuna. And I think the story will be a lot better if Setsuna dies.
Oh, I was expecting them...
No, not because she's gone. But because I feel like it would have been a lot more interesting if one of them died.
Yeah. I mean, I was Continue, sorry.
Because I feel like they could have dealt with... Because the whole thing was, like, Toma didn't have, like... experience, like, she says she was an experienced driver, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
Really. And they didn't have the chains and stuff like that.
No, they did have chains. She said she brought chains. They didn't put them on.
I don't think they had chains.
She
didn't put them on. They didn't put
she
them on.
brought them.
But she never put them on. And I felt that a much more interesting story could have been told if, like, Setsuna died.
Her emotional trauma of feeling like she killed her friend and stuff.
Yeah, and then them still, like, hey, they kind of like each other, but, like...
But your girlfriend
just
died. Like, wouldn't that be disrespectful, etc.?
How much of a better story would have that been?
It would have been interesting. Definitely. I mean, I expected the 3 of them to have to huddle together in the back of the car and some sort of, like, weird things to happen. But they just magically poofed their way to the hot spring.
Snow party, dude.
Snow party, baby.
Because when you crash in the snow, your first reaction is, let's have a snowball.
Yeah, I remember watching that. I'm like, oh my god, someone is gonna die. And then...
No one died!
Nobody died.
Because normally if you wreck in the snow, that's usually like a reasonably serious thing.
Yeah, most definitely.
Okay, I'm trying to find what episode that was in, because I'm searching right now.
To find it? What was that?
It was episode...
Was it 8?
Yeah, it was 8. 8 or 9.
No. Mm-mm.
Because 7 was the concert, so yeah, it was 8 or 9.
7 was the concert?
Wait, Here we go.
Yeah.
Ah, yes, she's wearing the driving glasses. Here's the scene. It's dark. It definitely looks a little creepy. She's swerving back and forth. They can't find anything on the map.
Yeah.
And they're not wearing seatbelts.
Also a problem.
How did none of them die?
Actually, I think she's... Okay, we got 2 confirmed seatbelts. I don't think we have a third for Setsuna in the rear.
She should have died.
Like, they're talking about bad weather. They're literally doing all the stereotypical things for a cabin in the woods. I mean, for someone
it's
dying.
It's the most lead up. It's the most death. It's like the most death flags that they should have like died from the amount of death flags there were.
And then now they're distracted by the snow. She's looking up. She's not paying attention. Car swerves out of control. By the way, if you listen to the music choice they picked like piano music for the car crash, like light.
Dude,
fluffy.
that violin music during the sex scene.
Yeah,
classy.
I didn't like the music direction in this show. For a show centered around music, I feel like it was just way too subpar.
I think the only good song was White Album. Was White Album too.
Yeah.
Like he even says we're gonna be stranded out here, and then
she's like,
fight begins.
Snowball fight.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you doing?
Like they're wearing shorts.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of dumb.
So yeah, Jay, what was your opinion on the snow crash?
I think we just heard it, didn't we? I don't know.
I thought if they're gonna have, we don't see them driving out. We
nope.
Jay had to confirm
see them driving
it's
out.
It's just a dry cut.
It's a dry cut.
I think.
In fact, she's singing. Yeah, we cut to commercial there.
Oh, that's okay.
So, here's what I think. If you're gonna put a scene like that in and have all these flags leading up to it, that something bad is gonna happen,
do something!
do something with it. They had the perfect opportunity to add a little bit of dramatic tension there. But I think this was supposed to be the obligatory hot spring episode where nothing bad happens.
That's true.
Yeah.
So, there was that.
Your next discussion question, Jay?
Yeah, the love that cannot be. That was the song title that we didn't know of until like the very last episode.
Yeah.
Of the show. I feel like if nothing else, that was the symbolism, and that was at least part of the theme that they were trying to drive home.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole idea that like while the song was playing, there's like a collection of clips of Setsuna and MC, and then there's like the 2 separated windows. I just saw a lot of symbolism there, and I'm trying to figure out if that was what they were trying to drive home as far as the theme
You're
goes.
going back to the themes that you wanted to see.
Yeah, well, it's not so much what you want to see, because I have what I take away from it, and then there's what I think the author wanted me to take away from it. And I guess I never was quite able to figure out what the author wanted me to take away from it.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that. I mean, I kind of feel like he's trying to say that, like, love just can't be happy. Like, as much as something seems like it's going to be really nice and happy, and it should be nice and happy, it's never going to be. But, I don't know.
Well, the love that cannot be. That's a good jumping off point again from what Jay was saying. But, because the love that cannot be, because that song was written by Toma.
Yes, lyrically.
Lyrically, it was written by Toma. And so, if that's like,
okay, you know, make this great. If this is what Toma, not Toma. Oh wait, did you say it was written by Toma? It's not written by Toma. The lyrics were written by MC.
Oh yeah, it was written by MC.
Lyrically written.
Were they?
Lyrically written by MC.
Yeah. No.
Oh.
Now that you remind me.
And the music was
they were
written by Toma.
MC.
So I'm used to Toma being
And it
the
was
MC.
sung by
I'm sorry.
Setsuna.
But what would be really interesting if this whole scenario is actually just what the MC wants. Like, this entire show is basically, and the whole end fantasy, everything is just like his little sadistic love story he's put together in his mind.
He's eating his cake, and he's having his cake and eating
this was what he wanted the whole time. He's like, dude, I can make such an interestingly terrible love story out of my situation right now. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna write this song for this. It's gonna be perfect. It's like his weird dream that he wants to come about to be reality.
Because he's like the anti-8 man, where like he's basically the anti-8 man.
Kind of. I mean, I feel like they have some similarity, maybe.
No. The anti, where they're just different.
Yeah. Well, wouldn't anti be the opposite thereof?
Yeah. I guess. But damn. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, he's a very different MC.
Well, we need to give Jay a message. What's the message of this show?
See, that's what's so hard about this. You can't quite put...
We're literally sitting here in silence just trying to think of what was the message they were trying to tell us.
Yeah, some shows definitely don't need a message, but this show feels like it should have had one.
And even if the message is,
and I know
cheating is okay,
and I know the
that's
fan
still not
base,
a good message.
and I know
if it's NTR, that's still not okay.
And I know that
because NTR is still not okay.
I know that the fan base probably has a theme they're taking away from it. Because there's no way the fan base would be this huge if they didn't have a theme they were taking away from it.
They like it because how realistic it is.
Their theme is love is messy. I'm pretty sure. That's what most people who like this want to take away from it.
And they're fans of NTR.
God damn it.
Sorry, I was gonna bring this up. Did you notice on Reddit the guy who just keeps bringing... Oh, wait, no, you don't look at discussion forums on the shows I'm watching. There's been a guy who's been just bringing up NTR constantly in the recent days. Yeah, he just goes, dude, at the end of Comet Lucifer, they're just like, dude, did Earth just NTR the MC?
God damn it.
Wait, okay. Jay, do you know what NTR is? Because we keep using this term, and I don't know if you know what it means.
No, I'm afraid I don't know what the reference is to.
Okay, Dawson, do you want to explain NTR?
I mean, I can explain what NTR is. I don't know the origin of the specific
just explain
term.
What it is.
It's basically just the equivalent of cuckolding in some sense or another. Not always like a guy and somebody he's married to or something like that, but basically if you have usually you're reading doujinshi or watching some hentai or whatever, and your main heroine has a boyfriend and bangs someone else oftentimes while her boyfriend watches.
Or the boyfriend walks in and goes, why, and feels really terrible about it, and then the girlfriend just keeps doing it in front of him.
And as much as she hates it, there's some sort of high or increase of sexual pleasure because of that.
Yes. And in this show, there's a lot of NTR going on. In a way. Because Toma leaving, I could say that's NTR. What's it called? Setsuna, basically getting cheated on NTR. Nothing, no NTR towards Toma. Toma being taken away by Setsuna. Yeah, there you go. There. Everyone gets NTR'd at some point.
So, I'm gonna throw a list of words and phrases that have been used to describe White Album 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just tell me if you agree.
Okay, we already said realistic and guilt.
Yeah, we said
what are other words?
We checked realistic and we checked guilt.
Okay. What's the other ones?
Okay. Sad.
Well, yeah, it's definitely quote unquote sad.
Yeah. I mean,
Would you?
Did I feel sad? No, I felt empty. I didn't feel sad.
But no, literally, this is like a word that I found in like 7 out of 10. People are like, it was a sad story. I'm like, can we define that?
Yeah, if
that is a
if
fact.
Nagino, no, this is the anti-Nagino Asakura. These two animes are entirely polar opposites. Where Nagino Asakura is the happy, perfect anime, and this is the messy, dirty, sad anime.
I mean, they're not only ending-wise.
Ending-wise,
During the show themselves, they're not that different.
Oh, yeah.
Here's one.
They're not that.
How
different.
about heartfelt?
That I definitely did not feel.
I did not feel that.
Okay.
Who says heartfelt, and in what context?
I mean,
So,
heartfelt is like...
The context I got for this one from a couple of them was, it was a really heartfelt story and a real tearjerker.
Tearjerker?
I could see how it can be a tearjerker for some people. But
Yeah,
using the
I mean-
term heartfelt to describe it, I think is okay if we were talking about just one of the couplings, but I think the combination of the lack of decisiveness
Cheating.
and all of that really takes away from the heartfeltness of it. Like, if
Yeah.
we just got one heartfelt is very
Yeah.
innocent, and the show was meant not to
Yeah,
be.
Jay, what do you think? Was it a heartfelt show?
No. I mean, you know...
Jay is a loss for words again.
You know, it's one of those things where maybe if it was a love story between two people, this was more of a heart destroyer, I think might be the better...
Yeah. If heartfelt is sweet, this show was very bitter,
Yeah.
is how I can best describe it, I think.
This is your blackest coffee you could
Yeah.
get.
Another word that came up a lot was impressive. Do you think that the show was visually...
No, stop there. Stop there, Jay. You don't have to keep going.
Okay. I'm the sort of person that would never use impressive to describe a story. Like, I would use impressive to describe really nice visuals. I would use impressive to talk about a really nice sound design.
No.
But I would never use it.
I'm very impressed that somebody wrote
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, oh no, I'm just literally, I went through these and I just pulled words that I thought were interesting.
And that's
just
the
to
only
see.
thing I feel like you could be impressed by in this show is the
No,
story.
I'm impressed that people love it as much as people do. I don't understand it. Every time I go through threads
Yeah.
about White Album 2, and let me just tell you, there are many of them. They appear at least once a month.
Do
about
they
somebody
really?
who's watched White Album 2. Yeah, you see a lot of
I
them.
guess I don't go deep enough.
Well, no, I'm on there every day,
Yeah.
so I always see the occasional White Album 2 thread. Like, just earlier this week, Dawson, there was a White Album 2 thread of somebody going, guys, why do you all like White Album 2? Followed up by everybody going, you haven't read the after story. And I went, no!
That is kind of funny, because, like, most of the times you get stuff like that, people are like, no, read the source material, but they can't say, read the source material. They're just like, go read the write-up about the source material. It's great, I promise.
Here's another one. Very haunting. I saw the word haunting used quite a few times.
Okay,
Hauntingly beautiful.
no, I think
like,
I think haunting by itself is almost
it's
applicable.
a tale of cheating.
It's
just
not
a
a
tale
word
of-
I would personally use, but I can definitely see that actually being applicable to this, whereas some of these other words, I like heartfelt and impressive, I don't understand. But haunting, I can definitely understand it being used for this show. Like, the feeling of being left feeling empty, like you guys said you were, I think that is somewhat haunting in its own sense.
So stupid.
I guess another thing that is commonly referenced in the reviews is that it is not a sequel to White Album, but that's it's literally like bold, italicized.
Oh, we totally
underlined.
forgot to add that into the recommendation. No, you don't have to
Yeah,
watch
you
White
don't
Album
have to
Not
watch
related.
White Album.
Because apparently it's 24 episodes of this, but more girls.
Is it? I don't know anything about the original White Album.
Also, in no
I remember
reference
seeing, like, 6
to
girls.
this being the second half of the Beatles album, either.
Oh, yeah, this has nothing to do with the Beatles.
Unfortunately.
Very, very unfortunate.
They played some Beatles songs, this show would have been infinitely better.
Oh man, would have that been a trip? No, don't play the song that they did play. Go play a Beatles song.
Be great. Throwing out like Glass Onion
Get Back.
and Get Back.
No. I've just seen a face.
I've just
like,
seen, yeah.
Like, there you go. Like, infinitely better show. What's another word, Jay? Throw one out.
There was another person wrote best romance anime I've ever seen. Let's see. Devastating. Devastating was another word that came up.
8.05? Sorry.
Is that its score?
That's the score. No, yeah, that's its score.
Okay, Mal's score is like...
The mean score, I guess I should tell you that. When I compared different websites, it averaged between 8.9 to 9.1 out of 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, White Album, the original White Album, there's like 6 girls on this cover.
Okay, yeah, I should probably say at some point here, I didn't hate White Album 2. Like, as much as it sounds like I hated it, I didn't hate it. It's just, I wouldn't
No, don't worry, I
score
don't hate
it.
this either. I'm on the fence about it.
Score it
Jay
like a
hates
6 or something, probably.
Oh, wow, you gave it worse score than I gave
Okay,
it.
that's going off of 5 being totally average. I think it's
Yeah, dude, at least I gave it
think
a
it's a little
7.
better than average, but
Well, no, the issue is, like, I gave Nagi no Asakura a 7. I should give this a 6,
yeah.
right?
The biggest problem with this show for me is that almost every scene they had reminded me of another show that did that scene better. Like, when the concert scene happened, I stopped halfway through it and went and watched the first concert from K-On! There was some other sections where stuff like that happened, where I just stopped halfway through watching something and went and watched a scene it reminded me of that I thought did it better.
No, hey, the funny thing is, me and Jay were sitting here, and I was like, oh, Dawson's on the last episode, and Jay's like, okay, we're gonna be here for like 2 hours then, because he's gonna start that episode and then like stop halfway through it.
Just not
Jay,
finish it.
you texted me earlier when I was out and about, and you said, hey, I went to go rewatch the last episode.
Oh yes,
of White
I
Album 2.
rewatched the last episode today.
Yeah.
Regretted that.
I can imagine.
Don't know why I did that to myself. You know, first thing you do is you click the play button, and next thing you know, she's on the bed and they're doing it, and I'm like,
That's how you start that
Yeah,
episode.
it was a solid start, I'll give it that.
yeah. I actually forgot that's how it started. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. There,
That happened.
That happened.
Yeah, Jay, when I told you about this and you said, oh, cool, I'm going to go rewatch White Album 2 this weekend, I said, no, you're not. Like, in my head, I said, no, you're not going to do that.
Yeah.
Oh, God. So, another thing that I saw as a common thing that people put into reviews is they said that people said they felt closer to the characters. Now, that's a very vague phrase.
They felt more closer and connected to these characters than most cast characters that, most animes. And I could see where some people might be saying that, but I don't agree with them.
Yeah.
I mean, they're pretty. I mean, I to each his own. Everybody's feelings and thoughts are different.
Yeah.
I feel like the main character is a little bland, so I could understand if you were going to connect to either of the two female leads. However, our protagonist is fairly bland. He doesn't really have a whole lot of...
He's a piece of toast, yeah.
Yeah, there's a little bit of butter on there, but... and it...
Yeah, they had a
wears away
little
off
bit of
this.
butter. He's better than some, most definitely.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say he's great
He's better
by
than,
any means.
like, 3 of the MCs from this season's anime.
Yeah, I mean, if you compare him to, like, the MC from, like, To Love Ru or something... He's obviously.
Oh, I was comparing him to like Comet Lucifer MC.
Yeah.
The one interesting thing that I noticed that I actually kind of agree with is the show doesn't necessarily use plot devices to create dramatic effect. they try to use the characters and the characters' actions to create some of the dramatic effect. Like, for instance, like that snow scene, they totally could have turned that into a big thing, but instead it was like, oh wait, they're actually going to be okay.
Yeah.
For some odd reason. So I give the show credit for really trying to make it character driven, as opposed to saying, oh look, plot device, we need to make something happen, let's just throw a monkey wrench in it and then have them react.
Yeah.
Yeah, instead, it was them throwing the monkey wrench into their own system, and then having them react to their own monkey wrench.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, half the characters, like, stab a knife into their own leg, and then they're like, shit, how do I take this out? I don't know how to do that, I'm just gonna leave it here.
I totally didn't profess my love to MC here. Oh, I totally professed my love to MC.
Yeah. Okay, also, actually, on the topic of characters, usually, I like to have a girl I'm rooting for. And in this show, not once did I ever think, I think you should be with him.
Honestly, like, for all me saying, like, Setsuna should go die in a hole and she's terrible, like, honestly, I didn't care for either of the characters in this. When I first watched the show, I was rooting for Setsuna. Yeah. And then I read a bunch of write-ups and said, okay, Toma's a better choice. But then after that, I was like, I'm not really rooting for any of this. I'm just watching this because I decided to watch all of this in one sitting.
Yeah, I did the same thing, and I was on one of my, like, not sleeping things again.
Yeah, do that all the time.
You guys remember vividly our Oragaru discussion. How did that open up? Hey, what ship are you on?
And 3 completely different answers.
Yeah. And we saw other people's ships burning.
My ship's never going through, but that's cool.
Wait, were you the club president?
No, you were Jay. I remember you were black hair.
Yeah,
girl.
I was.
I was Yui, and Dawson was the class president.
Yeah. Incho.
The
oh yeah, the one that he carried her bags for her, and there was a great little bit.
Oh yeah, it was her. Yeah.
No, dude, it's okay. Just go look up that image of, like, 8-Man making out with all the girls that somebody drew in full font.
that was great.
Did you ever see that, Jay?
What?
Somebody drew all the girls, like, making out with 8-Man, like, just, like, you know, there's as doodles and stuff like that.
I sent you the link for when they did a Yamada-kun and 8-Man cross.
Oh yeah, that was infuriating. That was infuriating. Anyway.
That sounds amazing.
I'm gonna send that to you right now.
No, Jay. I mean, Dawson. I think I sent that to you too.
Did you?
This is great. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, what else do you have on your list there, Jay?
Those are most of the main adjectives I was seeing. A lot of heart wrenching, gut punching. The word sad came up way too much. If you're ever writing a review,
don't use the
word
sad.
Other than sad. Try and define it more.
Well, you should be using opinion words, not fact words. Like, I think it's pretty much fact that this is sad, or at least supposed to be sad, regardless of how you feel about it.
No, dude, it's a happy anime.
Yeah.
Don't you love how, like, she just gets on the plane and leaves?
Yeah.
And she's gone. And that's the end of that, folks.
Actually, no. There's actually a lot of people who actually rationalize that. Like, it makes sense why she got onto that plane.
Dude, I wanted her to leave. Like, okay, my ideal ending for this was nothing.
Was MC getting stabbed by Setsuna, and then giving.
I wanted none of them to end up together. To be honest.
And that's what happens.
Yeah,
that's what happens. Yeah,
great.
Like, that's the post what happens. Like, he just breaks it off with Setsuna, and then he becomes a recluse in college.
And then
he
hooks up again with her later.
I would have needed to see that. I wish they would have shown that, because that would have been...
Like, a little, like, instead of them playing the song, show him in college.
By himself.
Or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what, Dawson? You're right. That would have been a better ending next to Setsuna dying. Like,
Dono, you keep going back to Setsuna dying, and it worries me just a little bit.
Just a little. Maybe a little more than a little bit.
We keep going back to this dark place.
Because this is a dark place anime.
Yeah, at least it's supposed to be.
I don't.
Hey,
If I would just change the last 2 episodes.
It seems like we're winding down.
Yeah, last 2 episodes.
I would agree. Like, I feel like if this anime just changed it, like, the thing is, this was a VM.
Yeah.
I want to read the visual novel, because if that's how the visual novel did it, then that's how it should be in terms of telling the accurate story. However, I feel like they synthesized, like, 3 endings into one.
No, because that's exactly the ending of the introductory chapter. That's how you get into the concluding chapter.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, if that's how they did it, then that's how it has to be.
But the thing is I feel that a lot of people go, hey, go read the write-up. Like, that's what a lot of people's answers is. And this is a show that I feel that they didn't know if they could get the money for the second season.
Yeah, they can't do what Higurashi did.
And they didn't. They didn't get to that second season. And because of that, they didn't tell the complete story they wanted to. They could have told. And with that, it leaves a lot of emptiness, or a lot of, wow, that is a really, really, like, terrible ending for us to feel like. And I feel that if they did what me and you, Dawson, we constantly say this is, hey, when a show makes up an ending because they're getting close to the source material, that's terrible.
I really don't like that. As much as it sucks to have an incomplete feeling show, I'd rather have an incomplete feeling show than a show that makes up an ending non-canon to the source material. If the source material
because
is good.
I would have liked that better. I would have liked that extra 2 minutes of MC sitting by himself in a room just thinking of his mistakes. And everyone else being happy.
Exactly.
I think it's important to note these kids are in high school and they'll get over it.
Yeah.
Theoretically.
But they don't! They don't!
They should get over it.
They should.
Jay, me and you have read the post
I know, I read the post stuff.
They don't!
And that's what bothers me the most, is these kids are eternally stuck at the age of 16, and they don't grow.
Forever.
They don't grow as human beings. Like, I get that a lot of the times a lot of the romance stories in anime tend to follow the same path due to the age range.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But if they get older, they have to grow as people.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like, alright, so cool, you had a little fling your senior year of high school, and it never really went anywhere, and now it's like 10 years later, and you're like, oh, you see her again, you say hi, you got a coffee, whatever.
Hey, Dawson, you know what was really great? In Nagi no Asakura, when that one character just goes, well, that's how my first love ended, time to go move on.
That was great.
Even though I don't like that ending, that's a good way of doing that.
It's like, well, time to switch things up.
Yeah, hey, Jay, in Nagi no Asakura, there's a character that literally goes, well, my first love failed, I'm gonna go move on.
That makes me want to watch the show.
I really like Nagi no Asakura. Andrew kind of likes Nagi no Asakura, and Connor didn't like Nagi no Asakura.
I like it up until the last, half an episode. No, last 5 minutes.
Oh, this is that one.
You're gonna watch it
I
now?
know which one this is.
You gonna watch
because
that?
we talked about it. This is the sadness.
Regardless of whether you like it or not, let me just say the audio and the visuals are absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, it's better than White Album 2.
Yeah, exactly.
I have to say, they did have a pretty big budget for White Album 2 from a visual standpoint, I felt like.
No. Jake, this is one of those examples. Go watch Nagi no Asakura and come back to us and tell us that they had a good budget for White Album 2 visuals.
Well, I've seen Fate Stay Night. They have an unlimited budget.
Okay.
for that.
No, that's why it's called Unlimited Blade Works, because they
Dude,
have
unlimited budget works,
But
as some like
unlimited
to call
budget
it.
work. Yeah.
I think mainly I've watched like at least 3 or 4 different shows based around music in some way or another, and every single one of those, especially first off, I really liked all of those: Your Lie in April, K-On!, and Hibeki Euphonium. All 3 of those looked better than this show.
I've seen visuals for them. I've seen visuals for them. They're amazing.
There's a famous scene from Hibeki I have to...
I sent you that link that we were
Oh, I
talking
watched
about.
that, and I remember seeing that now, and I remember enjoying that, because it's great.
So, let's wind this up.
Yeah.
Jay. Okay. Dawson, give me your score out of 10.
Ooh,
And then say
okay. I am too close to having watched this to properly score it, but I'm gonna go with a 6 for now.
Okay. And you've made your
Yes.
reasons. I'd say 6.5. Yeah, I agree. 6.5. I have it at 7 because you can't do 0.5s on now, so I
Yeah.
rounded up. 6.5 because even though I dislike a lot of aspects of it, there are parts of Setsuna being the worst character ever that I go, okay, that's
Yeah.
brilliant. She's super manipulative, she's terrible, that's great. The thing is, the emotional reaction I got from it is horrible, but the fact that I could sit here and go, I understand why people like it. I don't like the fact that all these people like it.
Yeah.
But I understand why I give it that
Yeah.
score.
Okay. That makes sense.
And Jay, what is your score out of 10?
I hate giving things scores out of 10.
It is hard. I feel like I
it
never
is
do it
hard.
properly, but I still try.
Because I always like writing out my thoughts in terms of...
Dude, that's what this whole hour was, is us literally talking our thoughts out.
I mean, here's the thing. It's not a show that I'm gonna say don't ever watch it, because obviously I'm in the minority when it comes to people who don't like it. There is a huge following for the visual novel.
Yeah.
The anime is immensely popular. Its popularity ratings on all the major websites are remarkably high.
And the three of us, seem to be in the minority.
So, I think if you want to watch it, great. It's just not my cup of tea, clearly.
Ooh, excuse me.
I think if you're looking for romance, there's probably other options out there for you to go with that we talked about earlier.
Go watch Nagi no Asakura.
Watch Your Lie in April. That's all I have to say.
Go watch Your
Lie in April
Your
is
Lie in April.
what you should be watching instead of this. Some people it doesn't work for, but
if you want a sad
overall.
manga, go read Rosario Vampire. You might shed a few tears. I didn't. It wasn't. I didn't.
Of course not.
Cry.
It's okay. I didn't cry at the end of Negima.
But I.
Give it a 10. Give it out of 10. Give it out of 10.
I'm gonna give
Just
it
do
like
it,
a
Jay.
6.5, 7.
Okay.
I mean, I tend to bash on things pretty hard when I'm talking about them, but when it comes down to it, I mean, it's not the worst thing I've ever seen.
Yeah. Exactly. This is... I'm gonna do a little roundup after this to just of anime I watched and do a quick review of it in a minute. But yeah, this is not the worst thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
There's at least 2 anime this season that are the worst thing I've ever seen.
I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
that you and I share... Dado, you still haven't watched the one anime that we both seen, have you? What the devil was it called?
Devil's a part-timer?
No. It was. You know what I'm talking about. And I can't remember the name of it.
High School DxD?
No. Ah, God, what was it? What was that anime called? We talked about it all summer because I watched it.
Describe it.
Okay, it's the one where the kids go to the school at the university where they have special gear that gives them powers.
Absolute
Yes,
Duo.
Absolute Duo. Oh.
No, Jay. That's why I said you're gonna stay on for the next little bit here, because I have something to say about that.
Absolute Duo.
I have something to say about
You
that.
watched Absolute Duo?
No, I did not watch
Oh.
Absolute Duo, but I have something to say about that. But anyway, so overall, White Album 2, go watch something else.
I suppose when it gets down to it.
Dude, this was a whole year. Like, this is a half a year of our. This is a chapter of our lives done, Jay. Just remember that.
Yeah, I mean, it's over.
We finally did it. We finally talked about it.
We did, and I feel bad, because you know what? People like this show, and I don't want to be a meanie, but I feel like there are other shows that you might like more.
Yeah, I completely agree.
I agree. So much more. Yeah. That's our final thoughts on it. And now let's move on to our third section of our, tangent-y, talk about other stuff. You were talking about this earlier. You don't watch a lot of stuff, right, Jay? So
Yeah, I'm going to sit down, eat some mints here, and listen to what shows I should and should not be watching for the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay. Well, then, let's see. I haven't watched anything. Well, I finished a bunch of anime. I watched a bunch of the weekly stuff and finished a couple of things, but I'll get to that in a minute. Dawson, you didn't really read or watch
Not
anything.
much. No.
Yeah, dude, after that binge of 3 shonens in a row, I literally was like, okay, I'm going to take
Yeah.
a break.
Three
Take a
shows
break.
in a row.
I caught up to all of Shokugeki no Soma. I caught up to all of My Hero Academia, and then I caught up to all of World Trigger in the span of 5 days.
Shokugeki's kind of a shonen, but at the same time it breaks the mold in a few places.
No, it doesn't.
Andrew feels a little differently about Shokugeki.
Oh. Alright.
I don't like the first 100 chapters of 110 chapters of Shokugeki
There's only
no Soma.
117!
There's 140.
I'm a little behind.
A little bit.
Dude, get to the Dark Age of cooking, and then you'll be like, okay, I
The
get
Dark
it. I get
Age
it.
of-
Dude, the Dark Age of Cooking's pretty great. But
It's so great.
That show
It's-
takes pride in making the most ridiculous situations so serious that it's hilarious.
yeah.
Which, when we're talking about weekly manga, just to touch upon it, Shokugeki this week was just a little wrap up. Nothing really much going on in it.
Yeah.
And My Hero Academia, to do a little quick thing about that. Oh man, it's that setup to that arc that's probably
Oh
gonna
yeah,
happen.
we left off with our main villains. Alright.
Literally standing there going, let's go attack
Yeah.
these kids.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I'm excited for next week on My Hero Academia. I mean, there's not a lot to talk about, so we'll be talking a lot more next week. And let's see. Weeklies. One Punch Man. Hey, Jay, watch One Punch Man.
One Punch Man is fun.
Why are you laughing?
I just might.
Dude, I got a message from Brad from yesterday, and guess what
One
he said?
Punch Man?
He goes, hey, were you the one who recommended me to watch One Punch Man? It's really good.
Hey, I still
And I
have
go,
to, I still
yeah,
have to finish Gate from last season.
Yeah, before the new season starts. It's okay, dude. You have until after the new year.
See, but now I feel like I should wait.
It's okay, dude. I literally watched up to the last episode, and then I haven't watched it.
Yep.
Let's see. What other things ended this week? Komori-san ended this week.
Your fun little shorts.
And my fun little 2-minute short, and I'm gonna go read that manga when I have some time. It was really cute and adorable, and it just ended on like why she helps
Yeah.
people out, and it was nice. It was nice,
Good
adorable,
little
and
wrap
cute.
up.
Yeah, nice little wrap up. What else did I finish? A lot of them are 13, and I've been holding off a lot of things until I decide to
Yeah.
watch it, which is why I'll do the roundup next week, I think, when everything's all said and done.
Yeah, you can
Where
finally
I have-
put it all together.
Hey, Jay, if you want a romance, go watch Rakuta no Cavalry. That's a romance. Go watch Noragami. Dude, Noragami's great.
I really need to catch up with Noragami.
Dude, one
Yeah.
more episode. It's
This
ends
Friday?
This Friday.
So, Christmas? Okay.
Yeah.
I might catch up tomorrow.
Go finish. Go watch your Noragamis. Go watch your Perfect Insiders. Showman Sample ended today. I still have to watch it. Go watch your Showman Samples.
How's Iron Blood doing at this point?
Iron Blood is so good. Like, I'm gonna try to be vague, because I don't want to spoil it to you. But there was a sledgehammer involved in this week's episode. That sounds fun. A sledgehammer to a face.
Damn. That's quite intense. Huh.
And there was a lot of death.
One would assume that sledgehammer to the face is gonna result in death at some point or another.
But yeah, I've been slacking on my weeklies, so I'll get around to it. Concrete Revolution, solid. Oh man, this Sunday's episode will be the last episode before spring, for the godlike spring season.
I am so looking forward to that.
Jay?
So I just watched that link that you sent of,
Oh, yes. It's...
Your Lie in April?
Yeah, the first time Kosei and Kaori performed together in Your Lie in April, for those watching.
Does that end nicely? That's always a big thing for me.
Sort of.
Spoilers, Jay. I've heard of the ending, and if I say anything, I'll say sort of. I mean,
it's very much sort of. It's a very bittersweet ending. Okay. I find.
Jay, if you want a happy ending, go watch Nagi no Asakura.
Yeah.
You know, we've said Nagi no Asakura. I think if we had like $5 for every time we've said Nagi no Asakura.
At least.
No, yeah, because you know why? I like that more than White Album too.
We've also watched it recently, so
fair enough.
Yeah. So this all leads me to what I'm going to do a short review for. Like I did with last week with Lance N Masques, I'm doing this week for Comet Lucifer. So, Jay, the reason why I wanted to tell you about this is I found my absolute duo.
Oh, Jesus.
So, last season I said, Kusama Doshi Kusen's my absolute duo, right?
Yeah.
And the problem is, what absolute duo is supposed to be is it has promise. It shows hope, and then it loses all of that.
It was something, I think I remember you saying this was similar for you, Jay, that it was something when I first watched the first couple episodes of, I had high hopes for. Not super high hopes, but I was like, this actually looks really interesting to an extent, and at some point that just all went away, and it was terrible.
Well, they never... If you're ever writing something, it's important to understand that the audience is not going to understand everything that's going on in your mind. You have to explain it to us.
Exactly.
Yes, you have to show, not tell.
You have to
at least tell. Like sometimes they don't even do that.
Yeah. You have to give us some context. Like, and Absolute Duo was a classic example of a show without any context.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that said, the show has some hope, and then totally drop the ball and totally lose it and be the worst thing ever.
And you had to be stubborn enough to finish it.
And you have to be stubborn enough to finish it. And the thing is, I would say that for Lance N Masques, but the thing is, I had no hopes for Lance N Masques.
All the way from the beginning.
When I watched that first episode, I said, I'm going to be having to sit through this schlock for 12 episodes. With Kusama Doshi Kusen, I did have no hope for that. But then comes Comet Lucifer. Comet Lucifer is an anime that aired this season, and me, Dawson, and Connor, we sat down and watched the first episode for it. And when me and Dawson came off of it, we went, after that first episode, we were like, this seems really cool. There's mechs, it seems like Gurren Lagann.
I like our character
look,
designs.
he even looks like that guy has goggles.
He's got like half of
Look, there's basically Yoko. Look, there's basically Yoko. Look, there's Kamina. And we went, dude, there's a Nia.
Were they throwing galaxies?
We literally went...
Unfortunately,
were they throwing galaxies?
No. It does go to space, though, at some point. Hey, Dawson, it goes to space.
That's not okay.
Yeah. So, Jay, the plot of Comet Lucifer is, there's this guy, right? There's this kid. And he has these rocks, and he's really interested in rocks. And he's like, climbing through this thing, and suddenly, like, a asteroid or comet, like, flies through him, and his rock starts glowing. And he goes back home, and he runs into his childhood friend, and they have this whole antics where like they're being the childhood friend. She's being chased by her fiance because she doesn't want to get married to the fiance because it's a forced marriage. But the fiance is like, no, you have to, get your dressing and stuff like that. And they're being chased, and it's all fun and games. And then they fall into a hole. Okay.
Oh God.
And when they fall into the hole, they find a crystal there, and out comes this girl. And this girl, and then all of a sudden, because this girl came out, the MC gets this tattoo on his arm, on his hand, and he's able to summon a mech to defend them, because they start getting attacked by mechs. So he summons a mech to defend them, and they get out of there. And when me and Dawson watched that first episode, we were like,
This is pretty cool.
This seems great. Like, it seems fun. It seems great. And then, as I kept watching, because Dawson stopped after the second episode,
Rightfully
it
so.
progressively got more and more downhill. Where you get to the second episode, and they introduce who the girl is. You get Philia. You get to the third episode, and there's a pedophile chasing them around because he's like super attracted to Philia. You get to the fourth episode. I don't even remember what the fourth episode was. You get to the episode where Philia basically grows up because she's basically like this girl who's like 5 years younger than them. And then like something happens, and then she uses if she uses her power, she starts to go older until she just disappears. Because she has powers. And then so she basically uses her powers so she gets old enough to be the same age as the characters. So then she becomes a love interest to the MC. And then the childhood friend's super jealous because like she actually had feelings for the MC the whole time, but she never said anything about it. But then the MC now has feelings for Philia because she's now of age. Now his age.
That's weird.
And
That's weird.
And then the fiancé is chasing after them. And then what would happen is every single episode would go down like this. This weird road trip-like antics where the characters would be just driving around and having fun. And then suddenly a mech appears and there's a mech fight.
And that's like every episode.
It's almost like every episode for like the first 8 episodes. And then like one of the episodes ends with them falling down a waterfall. And then Philia turning on this huge light that tells them, go here to the altar of the abyss. And they go, okay, let's go to the altar of the abyss. That seems like a great place to go to. And then it comes out that the main character, Sogo, his quote-unquote adoptive father, comes in and goes, hey, don't go to that altar of the abyss. You're being chased by the military. And they're like, no, we're going to go to the altar of the abyss. And then, so the adoptive
I like
father's
the language.
Well, I'm gonna go.
Nah, man, we're gonna go anyway.
We're gonna go to the abyss.
So the adoptive father goes, okay, I got it. So if he's not gonna listen, I'm gonna try to get the military to stop. And what introduces is the coolest character of this show, of this old man who basically is the greatest soldier known to man, going around just wrecking these military personnel, so he can find their boss to say, hey, stop chasing after my kid. And then he gets shot. He goes to go try to meet one of the military personnel, and then he gets stabbed and dies. And Rip, the best character of the entire show. So, what the ending is, and why this is so terrible, is, well, if this wasn't terrible enough, this was already bad, because the characters are not likable at all. The only likable character is the fiance dude, who literally is the only capable member, because the mech that Sogo can summon gets wrecked 9 out of 10 times it gets into a fight. But the other guy has a Gatling gun and seems to win all the time.
That's
pretty
good odds. Gatling gun.
Yeah. So basically,
ratio.
they get to the altar of the abyss, and Philia gets taken by another alien mech, and goes off. And then they go, we need to go save Philia. Because basically they're gonna kill Philia to save the world, even though her power is her power is what's keeping the world alive.
Damn.
What was that from, Dawson?
Oh,
I recognize
I'm
it.
just throwing out GIFs and videos from other.
That's
Hibeki.
Euphonia.
Basically, any other musically centric anime that I think did a better job of something than White Album
This is
2.
White Album
Hibeki?
That's Hibeki.
Yeah.
The GIFs Hibeki, videos Your Lie in April, second videos K-On.
So, let's get into the part that I just was totally getting tired of. Where these last couple episodes started to show some sort of promise, and then suddenly, it comes out that this alien who's the secretary to the villain, quote unquote, like kills the villain and goes, yeah, the reason why I kidnapped Philia is because I'm from that world that dude just summoned right up there, and like the person I was protecting got killed, so the world died. So I'm trying to get her to revive my old world. Yada, yada, yada. Hokey magic stuff. They get into mechs. They start fighting off into space. Literally, apocalypse is happening as, like, gravity is shifting with, like, all this buildings and stuff going around and, you know. Ugh.
Yeah.
And then it ends with basically Philia just going, it's okay, Sogo. I'll be with you forever. And then Sogo gets NTR'd and Philia just leaves him. And Sogo goes to go, you know, go dig out rocks, and the childhood friend, like, decides to settle with the fiancé guy, because she's like, I'm never gonna get Sogo, so I might as well settle. And then, you know what I discovered after I finished this, Jay? The studio who made this was the same studio who made Absolute Duo.
Okay, the strangest thing here is, at some point in time...
Jay, do you like that punchline?
Yeah, there was quite the build-up there. I like the delivery.
At some point in time, I knew that it was the same studio. We both knew it was the same studio.
At some point
and we just decided that wasn't like...
We decided that we would just pretend that didn't happen and just totally go unbiased and hope that this studio
for some reason
I never forgot.
It was a
I never
moot point.
forgot Absolute Duo. I don't like getting my hopes up and then having them just
you don't understand, Jay.
Torn down.
Dawson got this raw because he literally was getting my reactions firsthand, and I was getting sick of this show with the pedophilia, with the random mech science, with the love triangles, it's getting so bad. And like, to the point that I literally went, these guys were like, you know what's a great anime? Gurren Lagann. Let's try to copy Gurren Lagann and fail.
Fail pretty terribly.
They try to make Gurren Lagann, and they made Lance N Masques.
Yeah, that's kind of a bad move.
That's why I give Comet Lucifer a 3 out of 10. One of the worst animes I've ever seen. And would I now go, this is my Absolute Duo.
Yep. Everybody needs one eventually.
You need to watch, like, one episode of Absolute Duo. He needs to watch, like, episode 9.
Yeah, one of those late episodes.
Jay!
When they get to the island?
Jay,
God.
Jay,
that's when it really went downhill.
Watch... Okay, we'll do this. We'll do this when we hang out sometime this week, after Christmas, and in between New Year's. I'll watch one episode of Absolute Duo, and I'll show you, like, the ending of Comet Lucifer.
Watch the second to last episode of Absolute Duo, I think.
Is it the one... Oh, it's after the island when they start throwing out terminology that no one understands.
Those stupid names for the people who are, like, in charge of things.
Yeah, they're like...
They have their, like, council, and... Oh, they're just...
The first bot... I don't even know what they call them.
I can't remember the names, but they were just so dumb.
Well, because they tried... to, like, make stuff up.
Yeah.
And it was clear that they were making stuff up, and we were all legitimately concerned that that's what was happening.
Yeah, you could tell that whoever wrote it was trying so hard to be cool, and it just wasn't in any sense of the word.
That's what I felt about Comet Lucifer. I showed you that GIF, Dawson. Jay, I'm gonna look for these GIFs and then send you 2 GIFs.
Dawson, what was the image from?
Hibiki Euphonium. New season.
I feel like I recognize it from something.
It was...
It's the one where it's like undertones of lesbian.
Oh, dude, yeah, I have another great GIF I can show you from that. Yeah, but Hibeki's great. I'm really excited we're getting a second season, because the only reason this show isn't easily within my top 5, if not higher than that, is it needed a second season, and it's getting a second season. So if that second season lives up to what I hoped it is, I'm seriously gonna have to consider like where this is gonna go in terms of ranking.
So also next week we'll deal with this next week, Dawson. We'll let future
Of
us
course.
deal with this.
That from Dawson?
Also, Hibeki.
Is it one of those?
No, that's
shows?
about as far as it goes.
Okay. Because these kids are what, like 12?
No, they're 16
16.
at least, not 17 or 18.
I don't know if that makes it any better. Ooh. That's just creepy. Because there's a pause. Do you see that? The finger runs down and then there's a pause.
Yep.
That's just creepy.
That was a
So
great
Jay,
scene.
I just want to send you this too. This is Comet Lucifer. Like
Yeah,
the
you
last
know what? I should go
episode.
watch Elfen Lied.
Go back and watch.
Dude, we have a friend who likes
We do.
Elfenlied.
Do you?
Okay, this is starting to wind down, so we should just end this here.
Let's cut this.
We'll come back next week with more stuff. I don't know. Next week will probably be not an anime. We'll see.
do
I'll talk
something
to the guys
interesting.
about this. We'll
Maybe
do
all
something
read
interesting.
for this week. That'd be fun.
Or we could just talk about roundups and stuff like
that'd
that.
work
We'll
too.
do some roundups and stuff. But so for now, all I have to say is thank you for listening to our rattling here these past like 10 minutes. And don't watch White Album 2. Go watch something else.
There are much better
Thank
things
you.
to watch. Thank you.
Better
Yeah.
options.
Thank you for listening. Thank you, Jay,
Yeah.
for stopping
Oh, yeah.
by.
Fun
And
Thanks for having
guest.
me along.
This was fun. Did you have
Oh,
fun?
yeah.
Jay?
Yeah. I had a lot of fun. If you ever want to have me back around, I'll Skype in.
Yeah,
from,
we'll
sure.
you know,
yeah, exactly.
wherever I
We'll
am
have you in at
the
some
world.
point. But besides that, thank you, goodbye, and good night.